But you know the interesting thing... Did you know the story and title of Child's Play was going to be completely different? The original title was going to be Batteries Not Included, but they had to change the name because the movie was already of that name coming out later that year. The title would later be changed to Blood Buddy, and this is where it becomes completely different. It would have featured a doll filled with fake blood that would allow it to bleed if played with roughly, and it would have started coming alive when Andy was asleep after he mixed his own blood with the doll's. The script again would go through multiple rewrites with a handful of writers, one being the director Tom Holland. Tom Holland would actually rewrite the whole script but then leave the project because he could not come up with a new plot for the film. The script then went to John LaFia, and although John LaFia's script and idea would be scrapped, it would be recycled for the next movie, Child's Play 2, during the opening and the ending during the factory scenes. Tom Holland would come back and rewrite the script once again and eventually direct the film. But it is fascinating to me to see how much his project has changed. I mean, it's almost day and night. The rewrites and the rewrites and the rewrites, reading the guidelines of the studio, trying to find a writer, trying to rewrite the script, trying to find a director. But they would finally find their footing and create 1988's Child's Play. This movie would also release as some of the other horror elites, such as Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, Friday the 13th, The New Blood, Halloween 4, and Kevin Yeager would sign on to be the designer and puppeteer of Child's Play, in which he would carry on for a few more sequels. Kevin Yeager is probably best known for his makeup work on Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Since then, Chucky has become a staple and the Mount Rushmore of horror. If you think about dolls, it's either probably Annabelle or Chucky. The franchise of Child's Play is cherished, and it's one of the few horror franchises that are still going on today, even spawning its own TV show, which is now on its 3rd season. But ladies and gentlemen, this is not a movie review. Welcome to the first Child's Play kill ranking, where I'm going to rank these kills from my personal favorite to my least favorite. Coming in at my number 1 favorite death of this film, it's John Bishop's death. There is something very grotesque and agonizing about John Bishop's death. When Chucky finally catches up to John, he has his voodoo doll. Now the main overlooked thing I think about in Child's Play is the black magic used in this film. Throughout the franchise, yes, it is a staple, but a lot of people just chop it up to be like Chucky's final seance and hide the soul and him trying to transfer his body into dolls or people or Andy or other people throughout the franchise. Up until Cult of Chucky and the TV series, they really didn't dive into the black magic as much as they did throughout the first film. Sure, they had resurrections with the amulet and transferring souls, but if you base the lore of Dambala's dark magic upon this film, if you can take a fucking voodoo doll and break fucking John Bishop's arm and his leg and then stab him in the heart, it really seems to me like the possibilities are endless. Throughout this film, I do believe 100% John Bishop has the worst, most excruciating death of this film. Coming in at my number 2 is Chucky the doll's death at the very end. When I watched this movie as a kid, this is one of those scenes that I still remember vividly in my mind, because it was scary and it was funny at the same time. Despite being burned alive, despite being beheaded, Chucky comes back and strangles that fucking guy. Now if Chucky's not a fucking trooper, I don't know who is. To me, he went full Terminator in the scene. It doesn't matter what you did to him, he just keeps on coming. He gets shot, boom, he still comes back. You shoot him again, boom, he's still coming back. But finally, he does get shot in the heart, and you get that,
"I'm Chucky, wanna play?"
And that really sells it for me. I don't think Chucky's ever had a more gangsta moment than this right here, other than a special part in Child's Play 2, which we'll get to in the next video. Coming in at my number 3 is Charles Lee Ray's death. His backstory is fascinating in the Child's Play franchise. Labeled the hack and sack slasher, he is credited for at least 36 kills before this movie takes place. Having Charles being shot and then running in that store is a very powerful performance by Brad Dourif. You can tell he's in pain, he's starting to get off balance, he starts losing his motor functions, he starts stumbling around dizzy in the store, and he's like, "I'm feeling a little woozy here." Knowing he's shot, knowing that he's bleeding to death, he knows, I cannot give up, this cannot be the end of my reign of terror. To know this is your last resort of transferring your fucking soul and your consciousness to this fucking good guy doll, knowing you're about to bleed to death. And then you top that all off with a store explosion just to finish him off for good? Round of applause. Fucking badass. Coming in at my number 4 is Dr. Ardmore's death. If I'm putting myself in the shoes of being a child psychologist or a doctor, right? And he's making up this story about this doll being possessed, being alive by this former serial killer, I'm like, dude, you're off your fucking meds. But then comes a very unexpected turn, a very unexpected time where I get stabbed in the fucking leg with a scalpel by this doll. I fall down, he's putting this electroshock therapy thing on my fucking head, and all I see is Chucky's little feet running around, and then he flips the fucking switch, and I'm fried like fucking Ted Bundy. This again would be a grueling and agonizing death, but being electrocuted like this, I feel like you'll lose consciousness pretty quick. Again, this doctor's death to me is more this mass hysteria of what the fuck's going on. Oh my god, this is true. Andy was telling the truth. But other than that, he's out like a light. And I have to give props to the portrayal of this as well. Seeing his skin getting burned, his face getting dark and red, the blood coming out of the mouth, him basically fucking seizing. Great scene here. Great performance, great acting. I couldn't have did this better myself. Coming in at my number 5 is Maggie Peterson's death. Now this is probably the most well-known death in the movie. The old classic hammer to the head, she falls out the window and smashes on top of that fucking car. Visually, this kill is very pleasing to watch. When I think about deaths in this movie, I either think about this one or I think about Chucky's death in the beginning or the end. It's one of those three that I think about. And this one to me legitimately has shock factor to it. Me being laid in the face and then me falling out the window. One of the only things I fear in life is falling. Now don't get it twisted, I'm not scared of heights. I can go to the Empire State Building and look down and be fine. When I'm falling, nope. So not only is it the shock factor of falling out the window, literally seeing your pending death in a few moments when you're about to hit that fucking car. But we don't know what Maggie saw on the other side. We can only assume that she saw Chucky and probably had a fucking heart attack when she did it. But to us, the audience, it's really up to our imagination to figure out what she might have seen before she fell out the window. Coming in at my number 6. My least favorite kill of this film is Eddie Caputo's death. Eddie Caputo has a pretty simple death. I'm not saying it's bad, because I still enjoy it. But Karma being Chucky, finally caught up to Eddie. Eddie pulling off and leaving Charles was his fatal mistake. Him going through that old dilapidated house just fucking blasting everywhere. Little did he know, once he reached the kitchen, the gas was on. So the last time he popped through that door, boom, smithereens, baby, smithereens. Now what makes this kill even better in a sense for me, is that Andy almost got caught up in the crossfire. Andy was outside the house and he almost got blew the fuck up. Now this is very interesting when you first watch Child's Play for the first time, because you don't expect our protagonist to almost die to something like Eddie Caputo's death in this explosion of the house. So I think Eddie's death in this movie just adds another layer of creativity because you're not used to seeing something like that. But that's going to wrap this video up, guys. I can't wait to see you in the next one, which is my favorite Child's Play of all time. Child's Play 2. Hot take, I think it's better than the original. So I can't wait to see you guys there. Thank you so much for taking part of your day to kick with me. You know I appreciate it. I love all you guys. Till next time. Adios.